If you're starting to do something where you may inevitably fail or be rejected before you reach the goal, like build your own website without previous experience, or having a child before you're 30, or maybe something like be promoted to management within 4 years. These are not totally in your control. They are targets to hit. But what if that much dreamed about pregnancy takes longer? Or no one leaves or retires in the business, so there are no promotions up for grabs inside the 4 years you expected. Simply put, expectancies are the plan, and when our goals are abstract or intangible or impossible, we can reduce stress by establishing a non-standard relationship with winning. Hi there, lovelies. I'm Rhonda Crimes. I'm a life and leadership coach supporting everyday people just like you to reflect and rework your everyday stories so you can step into the everyday leadership of your families and communities and create compelling, meaningful and fruitful lives every day. Today, let's talk about redefining outcomes. This is the last piece I'm going to pull out and share with you from Burnout, The Secret to Solving the Stress Cycle by Emily and Amelia Nagoski. For now. I really recommend you get the book, and I totally love the Audible version. The girls share the reading and I crack up each time I hear them talk about the patriarchy. Ugh. I will struggle to say it without that embellishment again. Patriarchy. Ugh. Do yourself a favour and grab a copy. Okay, so just to refresh. Remember, we have Moni the monitor, that small part of us in our brain that decides if we should keep going or stop trying. I've shared how we can use a strategy the Nagoski sisters call planful problem solving to manage, cope and influence our brain with controllable stresses. That is what we can do to take care of the things we can anticipate and control. Then last time I talked about what we can do for things that are outside of our control, using the strategy they call positive reappraisal, where we acknowledge the difficulty is worth it, and we reframe it as an opportunity for growth. The link for both of those episodes is in the post notes. Check it out if you need more help or info on that. These are evidence-based strategies that change the effort you put into moving towards your goals, which are really useful. But what about when it gets even harder and the progress is taking even way longer than you would have expected? When, despite implementing planful problem solving and positive reappraisal, it just feels really slow and hard. Well, another thing we can do to reduce this stress is to change our expectancy of the outcomes, which is really an extension of positive reappraisal. So what do I mean by this? Well, really simply, by redefining what winning and failing looks like for you. Emily and Amelia suggest, even as you're succeeding, you grow frustrated because your progress is not meeting your monitor's expectation about how effortful this task should be. So you might consider rethinking how long a task may take, or just how much effort will be required. I had to do this constantly as I was building my own website. It seemed that every task took longer than I'd expected, either because I didn't know how to do it, or where to find the help topic, or because simply I hadn't allocated enough time. So there were lots of stops and starts and finding the place I'd left off from the last time. I had to redefine that a win was much smaller, as long as it was moving forward, regardless of the quantity at the end of each session. It was a win for me so long as there was more on the web page than before, and that worked for me. Simply put, expectancies are the plan, and when our goals are abstract or intangible or impossible, we can reduce stress by establishing a non-standard relationship with winning. If you're starting to do something where you may inevitably fail or be rejected before you reach the goal, like build your own website without previous experience, or having a child before you're 30, or maybe something like be promoted to management within 4 years. These are not totally in your control. They are targets to hit. But what if that much dreamed about pregnancy takes longer? Or no one leaves or retires in the business, so there are no promotions up for grabs inside the 4 years you expected. In these cases, you need to redefine the win. If you go in with a frame of reference of this will be fairly easy at the first hurdle, money will see it as a major setback. If, on the other hand, you go in with an expectation that there are lots of outliers, there will be hard days where it feels like nothing is showing for your effort, Moni is prepared for the long game and will recognise and expect that there will be difficulties and challenges, and she won't get thrown on the first hurdle. I very quickly redefined what my winning could look like for my website. And yes, it still took a big push at the end to meet my launch date, but there are so many things that I decided not to include. I decided this win was for version 1.0 to go live with limited pages, but everything working, and that anything else can be included in additional versions. An important distinction to note is that redefining winning is not the same as giving yourself rewards along the way. The redefined win is an achievement on its own, and that is the reward. So, along that line of reasoning, of course, we can also look at redefining losing or failing. This can seem trickier because some goals appear very concrete. So once again, it's critical to create a non-standard relationship with failing. Well, that sounds a bit open and out there, doesn't it? Let me try and explain. Have you ever been on a path to get somewhere and then got turned around and had to take a different path? It feels like you've failed the mission to get somewhere. But what you find at the end of the new path is something else, equally fabulous or even better and more aligned than the first path could be. My sister and I call these lard-head adventures when we travel together. We have every intention of going to one place, but we always take a wrong turn, miss a critical exit, and yet our experience is always improved, even if we never make it to that original destination. The Nagoski sisters quote, "Post-its and pacemakers and a tidal wave of women entering American politics were world-changing outcomes of someone's failure to accomplish something else." Lastly, sometimes we also just have to recognise that maybe we do need to stop. Despite all the strategies, sometimes Moni will decide the goal is unattainable. It can be really uncomfortable, especially if you feel invested in the journey and the outcome is somehow attached to your worth. It's during this time that we find ourselves oscillating between pushing through and then getting totally frustrated or outraged, or feeling that we're just not good enough to finish, viewing everything that we do as awful and feeling the brunt of helpless despair and giving up totally defeated. It's like a roller coaster of emotions or a pendulum swimming back and forth. Like I'm sure you've witnessed for yourself or someone you know in a relationship. We have a knowing it isn't right for us and we want to end it. But then we want to make it work. If only we try harder and do something differently. But it's just not working. And back and forth we go. The Nagoski sisters recommend using a principle from the animal kingdom. Animals intuitively know when to move on from a food source or when they're in danger, based upon reading their environment and trusting their instincts. we can do that too. We can listen and trust our inner wisdom. But if we're out of practice or our inner voice is too small to hear, we can also do a more practical exercise. We can write out 4 lists that answer these 4 questions. What are the benefits of continuing? What are the benefits of stopping? What are the costs of continuing? And what are the costs of stopping? Evaluate these answers, taking into consideration both the long-term and the short-term costs and benefits. During this process, begin to feel into your inner knowing and allow that to guide you to the choice that's best suited to you. But sometimes, especially in people-pleasing good girls or the human givers, there can be a resistance to what is coming through. We have been taught that letting go of a goal is the same as failing. If we fail to achieve a goal, it's because there's something wrong with us. We didn't fight hard enough. We didn't believe. I'm reminded of an old saying from my childhood that has served me well, although it might sound a bit harsh. You can't flog a dead horse. Sometimes we just have to realize any further effort is futile and just stop without blame or guilt, and to enable our money to reset. But actually what I believe is most important is that we can choose to give up now or later or never. Sometimes what the decision is less important to being back in control of making the decision. I hope this has been useful, and if through this message you see that your now is not the picture that you've painted for yourself and you'd like any help on this discovery path, or maybe something completely different that you intuitively know or feel isn't letting your true colours shine through, then please do get in touch with me. You can do it really easily by leaving a comment, sending me a private message, or popping over to my brand new website, rondacrimes.simplero.com, and go to the Contact Me page that now houses the email and Calendly online diary options. If you know or feel you're hitting your I've had enough of this set point, then let's set up a free curiosity call and have a chat and see how I can support you and make sure we are a good fit for each other without any obligations. Much love until next time.